Welcome to the crossroads of the known and the unknown. This is AJ Parr's Spiritual Journalist Podcast.
When I was 5 years old, I was sitting in my room alone playing Barbie dolls. My mom walked in and she said, "It's hot outside. Let's go swimming." So she said for me and my older brother John to go on down ahead and her and my sister Terry be down after a bit. So we quickly had our swimsuits on, ran down the hill, got in the pond. My brother was a good swimmer. He went to the farthest end, dove in, was doing laps and back from the center to back. And I could only dog paddle. And so I was watching for my mom, my sister to come. And so I eased myself in the water. I felt around with my foot for drop-offs because I knew you could go under. And so I'm watching for him come. I found a board floating. I thought I could make it as a raft and I can do what my brother's doing. I can go to center and back. So I put my belly on the board and I went up to the center of the pond and I yelled, "Hey, John, look at me." And my brother saw me. He swam real fast out to me and he took my board and continued doing laps on his board. And I drowned. I was struggling to stay above water. I couldn't very long. I was like this, like my eyes was above. And then I was under and I couldn't get back up. The water was brown and muddy. And I lost track of sense of direction as I'm spinning around, dropping down further in the water. And I couldn't get back up. I lost direction of which is up, which is side, which is down. And I was struggling to breathe. I felt like I was screaming underwater. And I felt very lonely under there, nobody knowing that I needed help. I thought about my mom and my sister up to the house. And when I did that, suddenly I was at the ceiling of the kitchen looking down at my mom and sister, and they were getting stuff ready to bring down, like for a little picnic or something. I didn't hear them say anything, but I could feel their thoughts, their concentration. And then I'm back in the water and I'm struggling. And then it felt like my throat would burst. It hurt so bad. And then next thing I know, I woke up and the water's no longer brown and muddy. It's a light, transparent green. It's like shiny. And it's like when you wake up from a nap. I was rested and I thought my parents lied to me. There's no such thing as drowning because I'm fine. I couldn't wait to tell my siblings. They lied to us. I don't know why, but there's no such thing as drowning because I'm fine. And then I felt like I was down the bottom of the pond and I saw fish going by right in front of my face. I was fascinated as a 5-year-old watching their mouths and their fins and their tail, and they were bumping into me. And I noticed my body would just push off to the side like it was just driftwood in the water, and I'm underwater. And then this memory come to me because I'm confused about what's happening. And this memory comes and I'm in the living room at the home and I'm looking in a fishbowl and these little fish are in there. And I'm thinking, why aren't they afraid of my hand when I put it in? And that brought this clarification, this aha moment. Oh, the fish know something I don't. I'm dead. The fish know they know the difference between something live and dead. And I thought, well, I don't want to be a dead girl on this pond. So I go up to the top of the water and it's like my vision had changed. It's like I could see below the water and above at the same time. I thought, I'm bored with below. I guess I'll go above. And I went as high, directly above the pond, as high as the treetops. And I thought, that's far enough for now. I'm getting used to this. I suppose I was afraid of heights, but you're dead. I don't have a body. And so I'm like this ghost kid. I'm hovering above the pond, looking around. I could see clear across the Route 7 or the High River. I could see to my right the train tracks and going up the hill past our house and down the train tracks towards the other town the other way. And I'm just like feeling this advantage of being able to see from up high like this. And then I hear a voice in front of me a certain distance away. And it's a female voice. And she says, because I'm thinking, since I can hover, I guess I can fly. I might as well go somewhere. And this voice says, no, don't. If they find you soon, you might go back. And I thought, go back? That's not how death works. I'm thinking, she's talking about. And I thought, I don't have to listen to adults anymore. Like, I don't have to eat my vegetables. I don't have to clean my plate. I don't have to go in the dark. I don't have to go to bed. I don't have to do anything. Like, I'm free. I can do whatever I want. So I go towards the right, and there's this 2-story house. And I walk in the door, but like the I don't open the door, it just is open. And there's old people sitting around this table, kitchen table, talking. I walk in, they all get quiet and look at me. And I'm quiet and shy because I'm a kid that in the 60s, you're taught you don't interrupt adults. And I said, I'm looking for kids to play with. And a man sitting at the end of the table, he said, check the graveyards. And so I left there, and then I'm back at the pond because it's kind of like center way back to the other town where I think of graveyards. And then I go down the highway and I'm walking, and there's two boys walking. And I'm like, where are you going? What are you doing? And they're ignoring me. And so I start talking to one. I realize now it's telepathic. He starts answering me. The younger one starts answering. Oh, we've been fishing. We're in a hurry home. And I realize they can't see me. So I fly over the highway and go on down to the next town. And I drop down in, it's called the West Side over there where my grandparents live. And I see kids playing in a yard. They're playing ball. And so I start running around the yard playing ball with these kids. And I realize they can't see me. So I start going in and out of houses. But at some point, I feel like I never left the center of the pond, even though I did these things. But yet, I was like, there's part of me is never left the center of the pond. And I'm hovering over the pond, and I look down, and now my mom and my sister are sitting on a bed sheet at the entrance of the pond. And I could feel their conversation is very mature. And I felt envious because I'm dead. I'll never get to experience that with my mom. I'll never get to have that grown-up conversation with her. And then I look on the other side of the pond, and I see my brother on my board doing his laps. I feel really angry because I feel he caused my death. He took my board, and he didn't need it, and I drowned without it. And then at some point, because I don't remember seeing the rescue, but I wake up because I'm coughing up water over my brother's back. He's carrying me over his right shoulder. And my mom and sister's up ahead to the right because I'm dangling. I could see them. And my brother don't like this water barfing down his back from his sister. And he says, Mom, can I put her down now? And she turns and looks as I'm dangling upside down and see her. And she like this big sigh of relief. And her and my sister both had turned and looked. And then they turn right back around and they're whispering. They walk up to the house. And my brother sets me down on the road on my feet and runs up to the house. And here I am, 5 years old. And I'm sick from this pond water in my belly, weak, with this knowledge of what just happened. And also when I was hovering over the pond, at some point, I was given this knowledge, my family don't love me. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. And then the next thing was a voice clearly said, children are sent here to be loved. That is why God sends them here. And I'm like, that's not fair. You just told me my family don't love me. And then you tell me that's why God sends children here is to be loved. It's not right. So now that I'm standing there remembering all this, as I'm standing there alone on the road, and there's a hill, goes right up to our house, but I'm thinking, why would I go to that house to a family I know don't love me? I think I want to go back to that pond. I didn't know the word suicide, but I felt I had a right. It's my life. I'll do what I want. And I knew drowning really hurts, but I thought I'm not going to fight it this time. When I was standing there on the road alone thinking, I think I want to go back to the pond. I just took a couple steps to do that. And she appeared, and she was the shape of this bright white light of this slender young female. And she's hovering over the road. And she says, no, don't. And I says, why? You know, they don't love me. And she said, you'll have a lot of love someday. And so I went up to the house, and I thought, I'll be my own mother now. I have to take care of myself. Nobody's going to take care of me. I picked up a book. It said, "The Old Woman That Lived in a Shoe." And I seen these beds all lined up. And I thought, I think that's what the angel meant, because I saw the angel right after the drowning when I was thinking about going back to the pond. She appeared. I seen her now. And I said, and she says, no, don't. I said, why not? They don't love me. And she said, you'll have a lot of love someday. So as I'm looking at this storybook and I see these beds lined up, I think a lot of love someday. Maybe she means I have a lot of kids. Maybe I'm meant to love unloved children like me. Maybe I'll have a lot of children. Maybe I'll have an orphanage. I'll love children as unloved like me. And as my life went on, I look back now, is that why, without realizing it, I fostered 60 children. We adopted 10 and had my own 2 boys. And then we adopted my nephew, and then I remarried, and my husband came with 2 daughters. We adopted a sibling group of 5, and then we adopted a sibling group of 4. And I worked at Children's Services, and I was really good at investigations. Like I've always had this mission to help rescue children. It's just ingrained in me. And I can't help but wonder now if that was why I experienced that over the pond, God to show me that I wasn't loved. And because I wasn't, like my family, my mother would say to this day, we just never liked her. In fact, we really hate her. And some at points they tried to kill me. And it's just people say, how your family be like that? I don't know. And so that's why I climbed in bed and I looked at that book and I seen those beds and I just thought, that's the mother I want to be someday. I want to love unloved children like me. I don't believe I'd heard of angels before my NDE, but not long after my NDE, I was at Sunday school, which my mom said my dad was atheist. My mom didn't go to church. She didn't like church. But my grandma, my mom's mom, made sure us 5 kids, which I was youngest of 5, we got to church. She sent a church bus to come get us or take us. And I was at a Sunday school and the teacher told, it was right after my drowning. And the teacher said, go in the closet, pick out a coloring sheet and sit down and color. When I went to the closet, as usual, all of a sudden I got a feeling so strong. There's one in here meant for me. And I got this one. And I was like, that's it. That's the one. That's the one. I was acting weird. And I sat down and I just started coloring. And it was a picture of Jesus sitting on a big rock with a child on his lap and 2 children beside him, like they were waiting their turn to sit on his lap. And as I started coloring it, I started singing, Jesus loves me over and over. And this one little boy covered his ears and said, make her stop. And the Sunday school teacher said, no, leave her be. She's in the spirit. I was just in the spirit. And I got so worked up coloring this of Jesus and singing Jesus loves me. Next thing I know, I have what I would call now, I didn't know then, but it was an out-of-body experience. Suddenly, I'm in heaven, and the exact picture I was coloring is what was in front of me. Jesus sitting on a rock, child on his lap, and 2 on his side. And I was standing there in front of him, and I felt him look at me and smile. And I wanted to push that kid off his lap so bad to sit on Jesus' lap. But I knew I had to be good. You have to take your turn. You can't do that. And I wanted it so bad. And I'm just sitting here with this anticipation. And then I heard a very voice say, Jesus loves children of every color. Never forget that. And that was the end of that out of body, back in the Sunday school room. And so I would have this memory over years where I thought, what? I didn't talk about it. I didn't tell anybody. But I always wondered, what was that? And now that I'm a great grandma, I just believe that was this little thing gift that I was given after my NDE to help me throughout my life to know the love Jesus has for children. And I can't help but wonder now that if I didn't absorb some of that love that Jesus has for children, because like I say, children have just been my life. That's all I've cared about is children my entire life. But not long after the drowning, my family went, the 5 kids, mom and dad, went up the road just a few miles. It's called Vito Lake to go fishing. And that's something we did every now and then. But this time it felt different. Like I'm bored with fishing. Like I saw more fish than I cared to at the bottom of the pond. And I felt led. I felt something pulling me, go over here, come here. And I started going towards the woods. And I turned around and noticed my mom is telling my brother, she kept her mouth like this. She says, go with her. She didn't want my dad to see. She didn't want my dad to know anything about drowning. She don't get in trouble. She'd go with her. And so he followed me. And then my sister come running. She asked my brother, why you got to go with her? And he's all, it's not my fault. She drowned. I'm always getting blamed for stuff she did. He said, let's come on. Let's go over here and play. Leave her alone. So I went on about my way, wandered into the woods. And on the left was this beautiful lake. And I wanted to go there. But something was like, no, over here on the right. I don't want to go there. And I went over there and I'm just stood there. And it's ugly. It's dry, cracked mud. Leaves, it's all dry and sticks, like it's so ugly. And I went over and I sat down and I looked and there was this flower and it's 5 years old. And I just noticed, like, how did you grow here? you're so beautiful. And it was just seemed like it was just dancing in the wind. And like it was celebrating, like it grew out of this awful environment. And I think this was Angel's way of continuing a conversation with me, because I started speaking through me like it's telepathic or a vision. And it said, it showed me this vision of these little girls in Sunday school, because I'm poor. I got this hand-me-down dress. My sister's too big. I got this short, ugly pixie haircut. And the girls in Sunday school had pretty dresses, long hair and bows, and these pretty shoes and socks. And I see all that. And then I see my mom and her sisters and my grandma sitting around talking about what is their favorite flower. And they're all saying these real expensive, fancy flowers, like you get at a flower shop. And this voice showed me that comparison. And it said that I didn't need all that fancy stuff these other girls had. And what my mom and showed them as adults, what they were doing, this competitiveness. You don't need all that. You have a strength inside of you that other girls will never know. You're going to have a long, hard road ahead of you, like growing up in this rough environment, like this wildflower. Because of it, you will have a strength inside of you other girls will never know. You will have the will of a wildflower. And that's where I got the title for my book. I thought there's only one thing. This book is called The Will of a Wildflower. And to me, what that means is you will have the strength inside of you because of what you went through. You will have a strength to endure a lot of things that other girls wouldn't be able to. And I didn't need all the fancy stuff like fame, fortune, the beauty, the fluff. I didn't need any of that because I had the strength. And so that's what I took from that.
This has been the AJ Parr Spiritual Journalist Podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe.